smart. And I was proud of myself. And I was like, look at what humility can yield. And then my very next thought was, I wonder if we'll win a Peabody Award for that interview. This is real time. I went from patting myself on the back from being humble to wondering if we were going to win a Peabody Award. I was like, at least I laughed at it immediately. I think when I was younger, I would have ran with that fantasy of what I would do with the Peabody. I'd start making a speech.
I take myself so serious all the time. I don't know who told me that I was like the lead actor in the movie Life, but I really believe that sometimes. And I'm like really taking myself so seriously and everything I say and everything I do. And so I don't know how many times a day I'm like, dude, you're fine. This is not as big of a deal as sometimes I think I make it out to be.
Have you gotten good insight or connection from different people? Like when you were touring with Taylor Swift, I saw her documentary and I was really impressed with how aware she seems to be of this duality of a public and personal persona and the needing the approval and all, and what a treadmill that is. Has anyone like really said something profound to you that you put in your back pocket?
I mean, I've always been young, like 17, 18, 19. So like a real child in an industry full of adults. And I'm not really sure if people thought that they should give me that honest human advice more than to give me the career advice.
Right. Right.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of amazing advice on career, how to make that a bigger and better thing, but maybe not as much advice as I needed on how to just be human, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, this year in quarantine, we just have interviewed so many humongous singers, and the story is just so uniform in the loneliness, the spike of everyone loves me, then back in a hotel room, and now I'm by myself. If all these people love me, why am I by myself? I mean, it's just so predictable. It's so clear that it's something that everyone's going to go through doing what you guys do.
It's interesting. There's a juxtaposition here because people feel connected over music at concerts. Everyone's there because they all love you. They all love like one singular thing. And music is a connecting device. It's this beautiful device, but the person making the music is actually outside of that. It's this bizarre thing where they're almost isolated while everyone else is connected. It's not really fair.
It's weird. It's certainly weird, and it always has been weird. So many musicians, it's the same story. You can go back to Elvis, and it's that isolation for so long and separation from kind of normal life. But I think I'm like on this pursuit of forcing it down. I don't even know if it ever is going to go, but I'm forcing it down to normal life to try and have them be aligned with each other and searching for other musicians and other people in industry who live that way.
I think you should seek Sting's counsel. I think Sting took the path that you're on.
I don't think I'm ready for his words yet because I've met him a couple times and he's got this it's like almost like he's scanning me spiritually.
Yes.
I felt him scan me, but that was like a couple years ago. So maybe if he scanned me today, I'd be ready for the words, but I wasn't.
Yeah, like Yoda.
Yeah.
Well, you never know anyone's real life, but it appears to me that he has figured out how to do the thing he loves to do without any desire of the approval related to it, and whether or not he's meeting your expectations. He seems to just be very centered in what his job is.
Yeah, I mean, he's a super spiritual guy too. I think that people who have a strong belief in a higher power can sink into that and dig their teeth into that as a stable thing. But I mean, the thing for me is like, it is a choice. I just don't really know what I want yet. I don't really know what it is that I want. And it all kind of stems from fear because I do know that I want to live a life where I'm not constantly chasing endorphins and little ego bumps. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to exactly slow down either. It's confusing.
Sure.
Yeah.
The stakes are huge.
Yeah.
They're enormous. I mean, half the girls you're talking to out front of your hotel, they're bawling. And I was like, wow, what an emotion to have to see, somehow meet.
I had this crazy absurd rule. And my rule was for like 5 years is if there's anybody ever asking me for a photo, I take a photo. So I'm not kidding. I was in England and this was last tour or the tour before. Last tour I slowed this down a lot. But 2,000 people outside my hotel. I lined them all up down the street and I took a photo with every single one of those 2,000 people. And halfway through, I'm just like basically doing this. Yep. Hey, yep. You know, it's like, there's nothing human about that. It's like I'm an autopilot robot to be able to say that I do that, to be able to say that I take a photo with everybody, or to be able to show the fans that I love them. And I realize if I can just like spend 30 seconds talking to a couple girls outside the hotel and maybe really kind of say something genuinely and connect with them, I mean, you can feel it in your heart, the frequency of like what that means compared to taking 2,000 selfies. It's a different world.
Well, you have limits as an actual human being. You have a capacity. So it's 2,000 pictures. At some point, you kind of are clicking into survival mode, which is like, I don't know if I have the stamina for this if we don't pick up the pace. Like, I might have to bail out of this.
And I couldn't bail out because I set these crazy standards to like always take every single photo that was asked of me. So, and thinking back, I did a lot of really crazy, weird things like that I think sometimes were just driven by the fact that I wanted to be able to say that, because then I'd get an interview and they'd be like, you're different than every other artist. And they would say, you take photos with every single person. Why do you do that? And I would be like, like you just got to take photos with everyone. But like, if you were actually there in person, you'd see me as a robot going down the line, where maybe it would have just been so much nicer to just like spend 5 minutes trying to communicate and talk. So I try and do that a little more now. It's a phenomena, and it always will be. And it's super weird. And I don't think we're ever going to really understand that type of thing. But I really think that giving a couple people some authentic heart to heart is so much more impactful than a ton of people, like a smile or a wave or like an eye contact. That's when it starts to become another job.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. There's a mystery in the documentary, and I doubt you're going to tell me the answer, but you've come home from tour. You haven't been to your apartment in Toronto for, I guess, 6 months. And as you walk in, you're being followed by the film crew. And then you immediately snatched something off your piano and you went and hid it in a closet. And I caught you. And then an alarm went off, and then you were kind of freed from having to explain what just happened. But I caught you. What was it?
You're not the first to catch me. I think every single person has asked me what that photo was.
Shit, I'm not so unique.
My girlfriend and I posted a video of us. We might have had a little too much tequila one night and just like recorded ourselves making out like as though we were like just monsters. To get a rise out of people, I think it was just felt like everyone was just talking about it and taking photos, and there's paparazzi hiding in bushes, and it was like, what if we just post a photo of us like licking each other's face? Like no one's even ever seen us kiss. Like we're just gonna go full on like gross. And people were so offended by it and so excited by it too. It was like this really intense thing. Because I was getting messages from people being like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And other people being like, you should really take that down. I don't know. That's kind of offensive. And I was like,
put me in the excited camp.
Yeah, same. Me too.
Real.
And Monica too.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But at the time, it was relevant. And my nan in England, who's in her 60s, I don't even think she knew what the photo was from. She framed the photo from that video and put it in a little Happy New Year's thing and sent it to me. And it was on top of the piano. And my fear just took over. And I was like, I gotta get this out of here. So that's what it was.
What a great Nan.
So Nan's in the excited category too. I'm glad to join her there.
I think most people are in the excited category. I just think the exciteds are a little less loud than the offended sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's like I always say, when's the last time you asked for the manager at a restaurant to go, hey, just want to let you know this fucking meal was dynamite and the service was spectacular. But if I find a fucking glove or a fingernail, I'm talking to that manager.
Every single time. I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Tell me.
I was younger and we went to Big Boys. I'm from Michigan. I noticed at your early shows, the big travelers that had saw you were from Michigan. I was proud of that. We're at a Big Boys restaurant. There's a salad bar. My mom gets a bowl of soup. She finds in the soup a condom, an unfurled condom. And my mother, in her brilliance, asked to see the manager. And the manager came over and she said, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is your employees are practicing safe sex. The bad news is they're having sex with the soup.
Oh, my God. Where were you in Michigan?
It was a Big Boy in Milford, Michigan, and I was an employee there at one point.
You were an employee there. Wow.
Not at the time of the condom fiasco, but yeah.
Your mom wouldn't known it was you if you had been working.
She would have just told me
Yeah.
not to put condoms in the soup.
Wow, I guess you really did rough it at some point. That's gross. You know what was a really cool podcast to listen to way back was with Mila Kunis and Ashton. separately. But I do this thing where I like desperately reach out to any celebrity who I like think has figured out how to be a celebrity and be normal at the same time. So I did the same with Matthew McConaughey too. And I ended up just getting in touch with Ashton and Mila Kunis, and I listened to both of their podcasts. I'm starting to realize a pattern. And also I think that's why I probably got addicted to your podcast, was because I was like searching for these people who really had this like grounded reality of being a celebrity. Ashton's been such an amazing person to me now over the last couple of years, and reached out, and Mila's also been so kind and stuff. But yeah, that's because of you, man.
Oh, man, that makes me so happy. Yeah, they're both delightful. That brings me to one of my questions. I think those